Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Navigating Baby Loss podcast. I am Jen, and I'm so grateful you are joining me today. If you've been following the podcast for a while, you know that I'm all about offering support to those of you who've experienced the loss of your baby through stillbirth specifically. So today I'm talking to you about dealing with those grief surprises. You know, those ones that happen completely unexpectedly. It's the ones that you're not prepared for, and all of a sudden you find yourself overcome with emotion, in tears, and almost angry with yourself because it just felt like it came out of nowhere. So, today we're going to talk all about that, why it happens, how to deal with it when it does happen, and some of my strategies that I've learned and that I teach others. So I'm going to start by sharing a little story with you. And it's a time when I was shopping with my daughter, and we were at the mall, and I went into the Macy's bathroom. Just a regular old day. Went into the bathroom and instantly was standing face to face with a mom with two little twin girls who would have been the exact same age as mine. I remember they had dark hair, each of them had ponytails. They were so cute and dressed alike. She was just this happy, perfect little mother. Something about seeing them hit me so hard because I think it was the same age. I couldn't control it, burst into tears. She certainly had no clue it was because of that. But I was really blindsided by grief. And I just remember that taking me by such surprise and feeling like I almost couldn't trust myself out in public because here I was thinking that I was completely fine. I had my own 2-year-old little girl at the time who was the light of my life, and I was so happy and felt like I was healed and getting back to normal, and there it was, just like that. So it just really reminded me that no matter how much time has passed, no matter how well we think we're doing, grief has a way of catching us off guard when we least expect it. And so I know many of you have experienced similar moments where something will just trigger your emotions out of nowhere. So today we're going to talk about how to navigate these moments because they're tough and they don't have to throw us off completely and ruin our day, but maybe just figure out why they're happening and maybe have a little bit of a different perspective of what they mean. So, why do these waves of grief happen? It just seems like they do when we're feeling like we're in control and we have a handle on our emotions, and then they sneak up and catch us by surprise because grief, in case you've not noticed, is not a process that follows a straight line. I know that there's a theory about stages of grief. There's lots of therapists that subscribe to the stages of grief. And while I think there are different emotions, anger, sadness, there are different emotions that are tied that feel like they could be stages. It definitely is not like you graduate from this stage and move into this next stage, never to be revisiting that previous stage. I've not found that for anyone to be the truth. I feel like it is a cycle. It loops around and you do revisit those stages forever. They can resurface unexpectedly, even long after you think they shouldn't. And this happens for a few main reasons. The first one is that grief is tied to memories and milestones. Sometimes seeing a reminder of the future we envision for our babies, like a child that would have been their age, that's a very common trigger, like a birthday or holidays or anniversaries of their birth or death. Often bring up the waves of grief because they remind us of what would have been, what could have been, should have been. Unrelated moments like an ordinary gathering or being at a restaurant right after you had your first sonogram can spark a wave because our brain connects them with our loss. Lots of times our brains give us our signals in the form of a powerful emotion. Our brains protect us and allow us to process grief in manageable portions. Let's be real, if we faced the full weight of our grief and loss all at once, it would be overwhelming and unbearable. Even though we feel like it is, our brain only gives us what we can manage. Instead, our minds allow us to confront pieces of grief over time, bringing it back up when we're capable of processing a little bit more. It seems sophisticated, but it is true. This is why grief can appear and reappear unexpectedly. It's like your brain saying, here's another little piece that you left unfinished. Let's see if we can work on this some more now. It's really your brain's mechanism. We have no control over that. As you know, you have no control very often of your thoughts. They're just there. That is part of the brain doing its magical work. The third thing is harboring unprocessed or suppressed emotions. So, daily life it requires us to push aside some of our grief to focus on work. Maybe we have other children, other responsibilities. We're just trying to get back into normal life. Sometimes we think that we're doing a pretty good job. We feel like we have it handled. We are healing, things are better. But when you suppress those emotions, they don't disappear. They just sit in the background and fester and manifest and wait for a moment when they can rise to the surface. And sometimes it takes days or weeks or years. When you finally have a quieter moment, something can remind you of your loss, and those unprocessed feelings are likely to come back up sometimes with huge intensity. So it's not abnormal. I've met with women 10, 15 years out of their loss, and they are dealing with this. And then we get to work on helping them process it and helping them take care of those unprocessed emotions so that can unlock a whole new sense of relief in them. The fourth thing is hormonal and physical triggers. Let's talk about hormones. One thing that lost moms know about is the intense hormonal shifts that happen before, during, after our loss. And then if you are trying to become pregnant again, you know that that's also another whole hormonal shift and triggers that come with that. Grief isn't just emotional, and we think it is. We think we can control it if we just put it away or if we can just process this one piece of it or whatever it is. We just have to deal with it emotionally. It also has physical components. Something I'm going to be talking about a little bit later is if you've heard the term somatic, it's kind of a hot topic right now for exercise and movement, but it really is helpful in processing grief. It can be something as simple as moving your arms out or up and down. Almost like if you feel that grief is dislodged and it just needs a little bit of movement to move it through your body. It's so interesting. I promise we will talk about that more. Your bodies remember that trauma. They never forget it. Sometimes it's in your body longer than it's in your mind. It can trigger physical changes like hormone shifts. It can lower your resilience, make you more susceptible to the waves of grief. Certain smells, sounds, or places can bring up unexpected grief. My reminder of this is always in the fall. The smell of the fall air reminds me that it's grief season for me. It's like a physical reminder. Another reason it can take us by surprise is that the relationship with our loved ones changes. And the relationship with our baby changes. And it never ends, but it's just different. We continue to carry them, think of them as part of our family. And these waves of grief are a reminder. It's a way of maintaining that bond with your baby and bringing it to the forefront. They're still with you. It doesn't always have to be thought of as a setback. They're part of living with this loss and integrating it into our lives because, as we know, grief doesn't disappear, becomes part of us. There are good things that come for us as a result of it, but it takes time. When you have these pop-ups of grief, it means integrating it into your lives, helping you make peace with what's happened. Over time, they become less overwhelming. And you can learn to ride them out with compassion. You can start to look at them as like, oh yeah, yeah, there's a big part of my grief. And I honestly experience this every time I meet with a client. So a lot of people ask me, how can I do this work? Doesn't it just keep bringing my own grief up over and over? And the answer is yes, it does. But it also reminds me of my story. It reminds me of what I've been through and how far I've come and how much those babies meant to me and how much their presence in my life changed me for the better. So now that we know some of the reasons why it happens, let's talk about what to do when it sneaks up on you. The first step is to acknowledge it, which sounds really simple, but it's such an important step. Often when grief shows up, we try to push it down, we try to stop it, we try to suppress it, we blame ourselves, we get angry with ourselves. What is wrong with you? Why is this happening? Why are you letting this happen? Where did this come from? We don't want to feel it, especially if we're in a public place. It's embarrassing, especially if there's people around us. We don't want to appear weak or like there's something wrong with us. So we really try to hold it together and push it down. But the best thing to do is just take a deep breath and realize that there it is. This is what I'm feeling. I'm angry that I don't get to have my baby, or I'm just so sad. I can't believe this is my life. It's okay. Just put a name to it if you can, because if you're confused or if you just feel empty or heartbroken, it's okay. Just say what it is. Name that feeling, give it a name, give it a label, and then you can move through it. If you put it away, I promise you it'll come back later and it will get uglier every time. So when I saw those twin girls, what I was feeling was overwhelming sadness and longing, almost like a jealousy. I had a baby, a 2-year-old. She's beautiful and perfect and everything I always wanted. But yet, I realized what I was missing when I saw those little girls. It all brought it back in a flood. I imagined what they would look like. I wondered if they would sound like them. I wonder if I would dress them the same. It was really important to just take a minute and be with it and not judge myself for thinking that, because it would be so easy to do. It'd be so easy for me to flood back in and be like, well, how ungrateful. You have a beautiful, perfect little girl that you already have. Like, why are you even worrying about it? So that way it becomes, if you're able to just put a name to it without judgment, It becomes something you can process instead of something that you're fighting against. It takes the power out of it. It takes that negativity right away. Acknowledging that feeling doesn't mean you have to break down right there in public. And if you do, it's okay. It simply means giving yourself permission to recognize that it's there. You don't have to hold it all together every moment of every day. So, no matter when it shows up, how it shows up, it's meant to be there and it's okay. I just want you to remember that. It's here for a reason and it's okay. The other strategy you could use is removing yourself from the situation. Give yourself 5 minutes in the car, in the bathroom stall, in the wherever you need to be. Once you've realized, oh my gosh, here it is. I'm feeling this overwhelming feeling of sadness, despair, hopelessness, whatever it is. The next step is just take yourself out for a minute, get a change of scenery. You're not running away from your grief, you can't. But it's just giving yourself some space to process it. And if you're in a space where you can't express what you're feeling, like at a busy store or at work, or just step away, go to the car. It just that something about having fresh air. Fresh air is always healing to me. It's always like my little neutral zone. Just like for me, when I was in Macy's, I stepped out of the bathroom and just went to the car and cried. At that time, I didn't have any tools like this. I didn't have any information. So I felt really guilty about it. But now I know that was exactly what I needed in order to move through that emotion. Because if it didn't happen then, it was going to happen somewhere else, maybe somewhere worse. Just take yourself somewhere where you don't have to feel the pressure of holding it all together in front of others. If you're able to give yourself that space, it's okay to take a break when you need it. I know it sounds ridiculously simple, but deep breathing is one of the most effective ways to calm every nerve in your body. And there's something so healing about it. I live in a place where there's not a lot of sunshine. Sometimes it's really cold, but I will find myself when it feels like just too much, just step outside, take a huge deep breath, cold air, warm air, whatever you have, and it really does help. It doesn't have to be a special breathing exercise, but here is one. I have friends who participate in box breathing, and they have taught me that. Just breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for a moment and slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 6. Try it with me right now, wherever you are. If you're driving, you'll be fine. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. Hold it for a minute. And then slowly exhale through your mouth for a count to 6. If you do this 2 or 3 times, you will feel your body relax. It's just the best tool that we have. It's right there. No one even has to know you're doing it, but it grounds you, helps you focus, and it doesn't take anything away, but it makes you feel like you can manage and cope with anything. So don't forget to tap into this instant relief mechanism that our body gives us, but we very often forget about. If you can, reach out to someone you trust. Might be your partner, a friend, your mom, somebody. Send them a text. Just be like, hey, I'm having a really rough time right now. Can you call me? Just give them a call. Let them know what's happening. Sometimes just saying it out loud and sharing that you're having a hard moment can really lighten your load. And you don't have to explain everything. Just say, I'm having a really hard time. Even just saying that is sometimes a relief. I've had clients who have felt embarrassed by reaching out because they thought, "Ugh, I should be over this by now. Why is this happening?" But here's the truth, there's no getting over your loss. It's just learning to live with it. That means having moments when the grief comes rushing back. Sharing it with someone else takes some of that weight off your shoulders. It reminds them that you're still healing and grieving, and it reminds you that you're not alone. This is my favorite part. Don't judge yourself. It's easy to go right to anger with yourself. Like, why am I reacting like this? It's been months or years, and I've been doing so good. I thought I was so much better. Or like me, I have another baby. I should be happy. But grief doesn't work like that. It's not a straight line. It gets easier with time. Instead, it's like waves that come and go when we're not expecting them, and you can't predict it. So it's not something to be ashamed of, no matter how long it's been. Allow yourself to feel what you need to feel without attaching any judgment to it. And sometimes these moments of unexpected grief are a signal that there are other feelings that haven't been fully processed. It's not uncommon for us to stuff down emotions because we're too busy. We're too busy to deal with them. Or I just don't feel like feeling like that all day long today. So when it pops out of nowhere, it can be a reminder to check in with ourselves and ask, is there something that I haven't been dealing with? If I am having an argument with my husband, I'll likely lash out about something ridiculous, like dishes or something. And it's very often not at all about the dishes. It's about something bigger underneath. It's brewing there and it just needs to come out. If you're getting these episodes, have you been pushing aside your feelings? Is there something that you need to look into more? If so, give yourself some permission, schedule some time, and explore those feelings. Talk to someone, write it out, do whatever you do that can help you get through it. You don't have to navigate these moments alone. I have resources available on my website that can help you get through some of these tough moments. The most effective thing is to schedule a complimentary support session with me. We can talk about it. If it's something that is not going away for you, just schedule that session. I am here to help. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope it was helpful. And remember to allow those moments when grief sneaks up on you to be a time to connect with your baby. Be kind to yourself, give yourself space, and know that you are not alone on this journey. I'll see you next time.